This is the 12th video tutorial for assignment number 1, spring of 2020, architecture 5354. So in this one, what we're going to do is add some base buildings. I'm going to go in here to, not base buildings, but existing buildings, okay? And so I'm going to come in here, and we have here Holden Hall, and we have the civil engineering building, and I'm just going to mass these out real quick. Simple masses. I'm not going to do all the arcades and the windows and all that kind of stuff. You can do that if you want to, but I'm not going to bother with that. It'll be a little different modeling. All I want is general massing and volumes for this model. So what I've done is I've already gone in and determined using Google Earth here, determining the elevation of these buildings, the parapets of those buildings, getting close. Probably Google Earth is within a couple of feet of accurate, which is probably plenty for what we want to do. The base here is 3225, so that's what our topo is set at, is that. And then if we go up here, for instance, and zoom in a little bit, then this is about 58 is the highest I get. So the parapet here is probably around 3258. 25 from 58 is 33 feet, I think, something like that. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to use as the height. You'll notice this is about 2 feet lower. And then this one is about the same height. The parapet is about the same height as this one right here. There's also an indention right here that is not shown. The beauty of, whoops, let's zoom out here a little bit and see if I can find the right. Let's do it this way. No, that way. The one thing dimension I am going to need that I don't have, or the two dimensions I am going to need, or actually just one, is this right here. I'm just going to use the measure tool that they have in here. I think it's this one right here. Yeah, line. And I'm just going to measure from, say, right there to right there, which is about, what is it saying? Somewhere around 10 feet or so. So I'm going to guess it's about 10 feet. Okay, 10 or 12 feet. That's accurate enough for what we want to do. And the reason I'm interested in that is because there appears to be an entrance there. I really probably should go back over to the civil engineering building, take a look and see and make sure, but there definitely is some kind of entrance there, and that might be a critical element in relationship to our building as a site element. So I'm going to go ahead and model that in. So let's get to work. So I find it easier. You can model this in 3D, okay, using the 3D work view that we created here. You can see there's the civil engineering building. I actually find it easier to model it in 2D than 3D. So I'm going to show you how to do it in 3D. The default level right now is that curb level, which is our surface. And so I'm going to build all these masses from that surface, the elevation 3225 that we looked at earlier. And so let's go to it. To do that, I'm going to use massings, and in this case, I'm going to use in-place masses under massing in site rather than under architecture component model in place. Okay, these masses are more appropriate for building scale masses. Okay. So we're going to model this really quick, and I'm going to break this up into the components. I've already kind of analyzed the building, and so I'm going to break this up into components. Matter of fact, I know that this particular condition right here is wrong. This is actually the wrap. There's a wrapping that takes place right here in this corner of that overhang. So that doesn't technically do that. There's also a flat surface piece right here, okay, that is not shown. And all, of course, this is all that sloped tile. So I'm just going to throw all these model masses in really quick and show you. So we're going to go in-place mass. In-place masses start out as a vertical extrusion. okay, versus components. You don't have the options to do lofts and all that kind of stuff. So if you need that kind of, you know, abilities in this mass, you might want to try out using a component rather than a building mass. And I'm just going to call this a CE 01, okay, for civil engineering building 01. And the reason I put 01 in there is because I'm going to model this in about 4 different masses, and then I can Boolean those together, you know, union them together if I want to. So I'm just going to come up here, click, right? Here's the upper corner here. I'm going to drag me over here to this corner. It doesn't quite meet, and I don't have anything to snap to, so I'm just going to put it in, and then I'm going to go modify. I'm going to grab that line right there, and I'm going to move it over and snap it to that line right there. And so now I've got that first kind of datum mass right there. All I need to do now is come in there and select it. When I select my outline, I can come in here and say, okay, create a form, a solid form, and it's going to create a solid form. Now, let's go into the south elevation. Okay. What I want you to do, what I want you to notice is I came in here and put in a series of levels that represent the measurement heights of the different forms that are in that building. In other words, I came in and put in an elevation of 33 for this, a level for 32 or 33 or something like, or 30. Anyway, this is about 2 or 3 feet difference, and then this one I'm assuming would be 32. I could come in and put additional levels right here, and I probably should in the long run. This is what about this roof is what about 44 feet, something like that. You know, it's sloping here. Right up there next to the building, it's about 46, and out here at the edge, it's about 42. So 46 to 42. Anyway, so I'll show you how to model that here in just a minute. Okay, so we got this mass in. It's too tall. Okay, so I'm going to I can grab the top surface and move it down. Right now, while I've still got it form, you got to make sure that you do get the surface and not just a line. For instance, right then, I just moved a line instead. And if I go into the 3D view, okay, my site work view, whoops, site, 3D site work, okay. If I go into that view, you'll see that I made that sloped. In other words, I didn't grab that surface when I did that. So often the easiest way, if all you got to do is change the height of this, I'm going to undo that, is come in here. You've either got to make sure you're grabbing the whole plane, the whole surface that you want to move. I could come in here right now and just set this to 33. Okay, so that's one way to edit it. And so now that would be, if I go back to my south elevation, let's close some of these. I don't need this up, and I don't need that up right now. So I'm going to go back to my south elevation, and you'll see now that it's the height of that. I'm going to show you a couple other ways to do this too. So I'm going to finish that. So we got this mass now. Let's go back in, and I'm going to measure I'm just going to do these other pieces. So I'm going to show you some kind of different ways in which to model these other pieces, right? So let's go back into massing, in place geometry. We're going to call this CE2, CE-02. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my site work here, because once again I just found it. Right now I'm not worrying about all these balusters and stuff like that. I can come back if I want more detail. I can come back and add that later. Okay, so now we have this right here. This is being offset because of that right now, because of that parapet. Okay, so I'm gonna snap to here, and I'm going to show you once again what I might do in that case. Okay, so right now there's a gap between those two spaces. We really don't want that, but I'll show you how I'm going to fix it in just a second. So now once again, I've got that path I want to extrude up. I'm going to extrude that up. I'm just going to go ahead and finish the form. Okay. When you finish a basic in place mass, if I go to the south elevation, you'll see these handles. Okay, so I can just pull this handle up to where that elevation is supposed to be, and voila, I've now got that mass there. The same thing here, I can select this, and it really needs to be over. Okay, so I'm going to just pull that handle over. I probably should have locked those together, but we'll leave it as it is right now. Well, if I wanted to lock it together, the only way that I found you can do that is like pull it away and then pull it back into place, and then the little lock thing will show up. There's probably a better way to do that, but I haven't found it. So now I've got this mass working for me. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is put that last mass in. So let's go back to SiteWorks, and then I'm going to go back to massing, in place mass again. We'll call these CE3. Right. The key to me for mass modeling is to get the basic thing in, and then the basic form that you want in, and then edit it. Don't try to draw it in detail. So notice I'm not going to try and draw these balusters. I could and edit it and stuff like that, but I find it's much easier if I'll just come in here, do this. I could lock those to that, but I'm not going to, because we're going to turn that off anyway eventually. And then I'm going to go once again. Oh, I forgot. You got to select your form that you want to extrude, or the lines that you want to extrude, and then I'm going to extrude those. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish off the maps. Okay. Now you'll see some other editing tools here. And there are a lot of videos on how to make very complex and very sophisticated masses, very curvilinear. Matter of fact, that's the best way to initiate a curvilinear design, is through actually massing it first. But anyway, I'm not going to go there in this video. So I've got this now. I'll go back to the south view. It's too tall. I'm just going to pull it down, snap it to the right height there. Okay, and then that looks good. Actually, let's do this. I think this is not far enough down. Yeah, it's only 1 foot. It probably should be really about 2 feet down. I'm going to take this down 2 or 3 feet. Let's go ahead and just take this down to 31 feet. Now, if I had the top of this building locked to that level, then when I change that level symbol, it would have moved with it, but I didn't lock it when I snapped it. Okay, so I'm going to snap it now in case I change it later. Okay, those are not permanent locks. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is go back into SiteWorks here. Okay, and I'm going to pull this back. Okay, and I'm going to put a dimension, a quick dimension right here and right here. Okay, and I'm going to then move that surface right there. Okay, I'm going to move it by 12 feet. That is going to give me that arcade right there, right? Okay, so now I've got that arcade. Notice those two masses. I don't know. Okay, there's something off with the building, engineering building. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to pull this out to here, and I guess we'll go ahead and lock it, even though we really don't need to. Same thing here. This seems to be wrong. So once again, it's right there in the middle of that, isn't it? Okay, let's lock that into there. And in this case, okay, so that looks better. Clean that up a little bit. I pulled that back. I'm going to put a mass right in there. So we're going to go in place mass, and then we're going to put an in place mass in there. We'll call this, CE South arcade, just to give it, sometimes it's better to give a more descriptive term of what it is so it's easier to find if you want to re-educate it, re-edit it. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and lock this. To these other surfaces. So if I decide to move this surface back some, then this surface will move with it and make it larger or whatever. And so then I'm going to select the outline. Once again, go in and create a form. I'm going to go ahead and once again finish it off. Okay, and then I'm going to select that and go look at it in the south. Okay, and we'll see that it came in shorter than the other one. There's a variety of ways to do this. The top of this, once again, I'm going to go offline real quick and get those dimensions from Google. So I went offline and got the dimensions of this, and this is 23, no, this is 15 feet. The facade of it is 15 feet up, and then the back slope dimension I got as 23 feet, I think. Yeah, 23 feet in height, okay? That probably could be calculated to a slope of some kind and then go with the slope instead, but I'm just going to use those two dimensions. So the next thing I'm going to do is select this level right here. And with it selected, when I move over the top of it, the move sign is going to appear. And if I hold the control key down, that's a copy. So the move sign with the control key down, that's a copy. And so I'm going to copy that. Okay, you want to make sure that you don't move that one, but that you actually copy this one. And I'm going to set this to 15 feet. Okay, and so now I've got that set. I'll go ahead and change the name of this. Oh, no, I don't want to do that unless I go up a little bit. What I do want to do is change its name, though. Nope, not 15, name. Okay, I'm going to call this CE South Arcade. So, and we could jack with this a little bit if you want, but anyway, I'm probably going to delete these in the long run, but right now they make it easier for me to do this. So I'm just going to do that and then snap that there. I'm going to lock it right now to that. If I delete it later, of course, that restraint. And so if I go into, will disappear. And if I go into here, now I can see, okay, there's the little, solid, right? And so what I'm going to do is go in and edit this in place. And when I go in to edit it in place, now I have access to its edges as well as to the different planes and stuff. And what I want is that edge right there. Okay, and you'll see a dimension over here, 15 feet. I'm going to click on that dimension and type in 23 feet. Okay, now that slope is based on the elevations I've got. Now it may be too steep in reality or whatever, but now I've got it. And that's the way that you can edit. Now the other thing you'll notice is the default material for massings is transparent, and that's so that you can see them really easily in relationship to each other. Because as we get into mass modeling for your design, that can be kind of convenient. But we don't want this to be that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this mass. Oh, got to finish this one. Okay, finish my editing. Remove constraints. I'm going to remove constraints because I had this constrained, both of these lines constrained to that elevation, which I don't want anymore. Next, what I'm going to do is, and you'll see I went offline, and that's why this all of a sudden turned solid. I'll notice these are all transparent. This is the default material for this particular massing type, massing in place massing. And you'll notice that I changed this one to what is actually white, okay? And because of the shading algorithm, of course, it's shaded a little bit. We can, I don't want consistent start. Let's just keep it shaded, okay? So what I'm going to do is change all of these rules, show you how to change all of them. I'm going to select this mass. I'm going to go into Edit in Place Mass, okay? And then I'm going to go to its properties over here and click on the properties. Oops. First of all, I'm sorry. I'm going to tab until I got the whole thing. Okay, and once I have the whole mass, you'll see these properties appear right here. And you'll see one of them being material. And right now it doesn't show that there's a material added, but there actually is, and it's a default material. Okay, so I'm going to click on that little triple dot button, and I'm going to come down here and find gypsum wallboard. Okay, if it didn't appear immediately on this, I would type in gypsum, see what appears. If it wasn't in my existing, then I would see if it was in any of my libraries down here, okay, which are, if the libraries aren't appearing, you need to up this arrow so they do. And then here's gypsum wallboard. Of course, it's already been added, and we would add it. But I'm just going to grab gypsum wallboard. I'm going to say OK, and now it's gypsum wallboard, okay. And I'm going to do that on the rest of the masses offline, because now you know how to do it. So I went offline again and went ahead and finished out the modeling of this using the same techniques that I used on this part of the building over here. You'll see that on the west facade, it's probably better if I go 3D presentation, AXO. There we go. Let's go to the west facade. And you can see I added this in. I found that this was also at 40, but this was at like 44. And so the difference in height was 15 feet and 19 feet, I guess. This turned out, when I looked at it, actually I'm going to go in here and change it while I've got it here. Was actually just 46, so it's should be, instead of 23, it should be like 21 feet. But you know, that's 6 1/2 dozen the other. It's not that big a deal. The other is that I added this stairwell back here, and I haven't changed its color yet, so I'm going to go in. Once again, the key here is to hit the tab key until you get the whole object, and then select it, and then go in and change the material type. So now for what I want, this is finished. I might need some more, once again, more sidewalks. I just, did that sampling there. And then using those same techniques that I've shown you, I think you should be able to do this massing of the Holden Hall building over here. Okay, so once again, there's, and I wouldn't try to do these overhangs. You can, try and do that. I could show you. I could point you to a video or try to show you how to do that if you wanted to. Once again, I'd model this separately. I would model probably that front facade separately. This is a box. This is a box. This is a box. I definitely would model some of these as separate things because they're easier to handle. This I would model as a separate item. And that piece behind it. So anyway, that's mass modeling for existing buildings. The next video is going to cover how to put in a mass of your base building or your project.